told me like afterwards.
When you say met her, you mean like went on a date with her?
No, I never went on a date with her until she was in North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Just like flirting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there was natural flirting back and forth, and that was just like, I knew that, like, with that video timing, I probably just looked like I was, like, felt guilty for even talking to the girl at work.
Well, you probably did, right?
Yeah.
Any domestic violence in your house? Like,
No, like, we never...
this is strange to us to
Even
have.
from her to you, I mean,
Yeah.
she gets mad when she's pregnant and grabs a knife or
No, like... I mean,
scratches you or smacks you around or nothing?
No, she'd never, like, nothing.
Okay.
That's what makes all this even more hard to understand from my standpoint, and from yours, too.
Yeah.
Did she ever belittle you at all? Did you ever feel that way, maybe?
What was that?
Did she ever make you feel like she belittled you, or you felt belittled by her?
I mean, there's always points, like, in a marriage where, like, you know, the dominant person, like, you know, takes control of
Sure.
everything. But, like, you know, my whole life, I just kind of went with the flow. Like, I never, like, put myself in the center of attention. I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be in the background.
Do you feel like a different person wearing those patches?
Especially, like, the duo, the burn. I mean, it felt, like, the Apple Watches. Like, if you look on it, like, when it tells you to exercise, it says I was exercising, like, all day. Because my heart rate was, like, up.
Oh.
Just from those patches.
Was it full of caffeine or what?
They just have something. They had something in them. I mean, I had the black label ones, the longer black ones, those had caffeine in them, but it never had that effect. I mean, the duo burn ones, the ones that are more of like the fat loss type, it felt like I was working out all day, even though I wasn't.
Oh, were you tired?
I mean, I know at some points, even Nikki said that, like, you know, I'd fall asleep on the couch, on her couch while I was talking to her, and then, like, pick back up like I never knew I fell asleep, which I don't know if it was like an insomnia thing or what, but like I wasn't sleeping much.
You had a lot going on then.
Yeah, but that was the only patches I really felt like a real big difference on, just because it felt like I was working out all day.
Mm-hmm. You don't feel like they changed your personality or anything like that, though? Or do you?
I don't really know. I know I just felt different on those than any other patch. Felt like I could just go longer and longer each day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure, like, if that was probably a bad thing, because I don't think I was probably sleeping more than 3 hours a night.
So would you stay when Shan was gone, would you stay with Nikki and then go home for, like, to get ready for work?
Yeah, I just wake up at like 4:30 and go home and get ready for work and leave. And I just work out when I got back home.
Mm-hmm.
What were the conversations with Nikki as far as at some point you guys were talking about her helping you find an apartment? So what did you guys talk about as far as your future together?
That didn't really happen until, like, I got back from the beach. So I told her, like, I lied to her, like, hey, you know, like, I had talked to Shan about getting a separation.
And that talk hadn't happened yet?
No, I mean, it kind of, like, she knew something was going on at the beach. I mean, we weren't sleeping in the same room, and then she she even mentioned the fact, like, hey, you know, Colorado's 50-50 state or something like that. And which I was like, okay, well, I guess she looked it up. But, you know, that actual talk hadn't, like, actually happened. I was just like, I thought it was going to happen.
Yeah. And so in conversations with Nikki, and I get it, I mean, you're telling her, like, the progress toward the divorce is a little bit more than it was. Mm-hmm. And then so what were you guys planning?
So it was more of like, she was going to help me find an apartment that was affordable. That's kind of just around, like, Brighton, or maybe just close to work, like Fort Lupton or something around there. That's kind of like where my area was. Mm-hmm.
Did you talk about moving in with her?
She didn't want that.
She didn't want that? Would you have done that if she would have been cool with that?
I'd been a little too soon, I would have thought. It was just, we'd only been really seeing each other like almost like a month or they just talking for about 2 months. That would have been really. But she called her house, like her apartment, like her, I don't know, like her, kind of like a shield, or kind of like her.
What were you thinking about when you called the school that day, on Monday?
I was freaking out. I didn't know, like I was thinking in my head, like what I just did, what I just done, and I didn't know, like it was stupid to do anything. Just, I mean, to call the school, to call Ann, to call anybody. I mean, they were right to be, you know, suspicious about anything. Like, 'cause I knew I probably sounded eccentric on the phone and out of sorts, and just, you know, I don't even know what they were thinking when they heard me.
I think they thought I was weird, but I don't know how you would not sound weird, you know, like you said, so.
So, are you 100% sure the girls were still around and alive when you drove out? Okay. So that's completely accurate. There's nothing else about that.
They got in the truck.
Okay.
Where did the blanket go?
It's probably in the trash can or something, I think.
In the trash?
It wasn't like, it was still in my truck.
Okay. We thought we saw some GPS where you had stopped by near a construction roll-off dumpster. Is that true, or?
I think that's like, I dumped my clothes in there.
So that would have been on the way back to the house?
In my neighborhood.
Yeah. When Officer Kunab was there? Okay.
So once the girls were gone, was it also just a minute-by-minute thing as far as the oil tanks?
Yeah, I didn't know what to do. I mean, just thinking about an oil tank just makes me want to throw up.
And was that just because it was in front of you and there it was and it just presented itself? It wasn't a plan beforehand? Okay. Was there any reason why the separate ones?
No, it's like you said, it was like going up the stairs, and it just didn't. No, like what Frank said, is like I was trying to separate everybody. That's not.
No.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't want to separate anybody.
What was the reason?
I can't even tell you. It was like I said, like something else was in control of what I was doing, and it was like I was doing something I never thought I would ever do in my life.
Can you talk about the trash bags? Do you remember that?
Oh,
There were two.
Okay. Yeah, it's trying to, because like she kept, I didn't want to, like when I was putting, there's one coherent, I guess, thing I had, like I didn't want the girls looking at Shanann while they were in the back seat.
So what'd you do?
I put a trash bag on one end and on her feet and on her head, so they didn't have to see.
Okay. And they were just too little to kind of figure out, right?
Yeah, they didn't know this.
Okay. That's good.
I just know, like when I was driving up there, I mean, you know, they were just, you know, sitting there just, you know, kind of asleep or kind of just like, you know, holding on to each other, laying in each other's laps. You know, I didn't.
Do you remember having any thoughts or thinking about why not just putting them all together with Shanann?
Honestly, it was just happening so fast. I had no time to really have a thought that was my own.
Okay.
But I wasn't like dutifully trying to separate anybody passing away, trying to keep anybody separate. And everything, you know, Frank, Sandy, and Frankie said, you know, like I don't hold it against them. I mean, they can hate me for, they have a right to hate me for the rest of their lives.
They don't hate
They
you.
don't. In fact, while we're on the subject, I speak with them weekly, and I told them that we were going to come here and then hopefully would speak with us. And they told me to tell you, understandably, they're devastated But they actually said that they love you. They still love you. And Sandy explained it. You know, he's our son-in-law for 8 years. I can't just turn that off. So they don't hate you.
And
We were all in shock. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, that was like,
It's like we were going 100 miles an hour and then we just hit a brick wall. Like that's what it felt like to all of us. So I mean, obviously you had more time to
yeah, I mean,
contemplate it than
yeah,
us.
I told John and Kate and Sophia and everybody, Amy, hey, if we can just stop this, and like, I know it's, you know, everybody's telling me to fight this, you know, there's no like, there's like, everybody's saying there's like not enough evidence to such this and that, and I'm just like, no, I'm just like, this needs to end. Like, I don't want people to have to, because for Frank and everybody to have to fly back to Colorado every single time and get reminded of this, like, I'm not sure, it's never going to go away, but to have to come and talk about it, have other people talk about it, have, you know, have all three of you get on the witness stand and say, you know, what they saw, what they've seen, you know, what they heard on tapes and everything like that. It's just like, I don't want people to relive that over and over and over again for years. Like, if I could just end this for everybody, and then like, if there's any closure at all, they could, you know, it could start then instead of like in 2022.
Right.
You know, like, you know, and everything just like, 'cause I know it'd only get worse for everybody.
So did it have anything to do with you not having the death penalty?
No, like, I mean, honestly, like, when I was sitting in that cell, I felt like I should have died. I mean, I was listening to everybody telling me, like, hey, if you do this and this, you can hang yourself in that cell, you could do this and that.
They were like telling you stuff.
Yeah, you could drown yourself in the toilet if you wanted to fill your toilet bowl up or something like that. It was, they've been there a bunch of times. And, like, you know, at one point I was listening to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was just like, you know, I just felt like maybe there's a different purpose for me somewhere.
I know there was like, wasn't her phone found on the couch or between the couch cushions? Like, did you plant all that
I
stuff?
just threw it in there.
You just threw it in
Yeah,
there?
I was-
Why did you do that?
I don't know what was going on that morning. Like, even like, you know, her watch, her phone, like, you know, if I was actually, like, if I'd planned this, I would probably just take it out to the field or something, you know. But,
What
you
about
know,
her ring and stuff? What were you thinking about that?
It's like, you know, maybe she actually really wanted a divorce. Maybe she didn't want to fix it. Just put it there on the counter.
She took it off? Or did you take it off?
I took it off.
Okay. Oh, so that would look like she was saying, I want a divorce, I'm leaving it here when I'm taken off. I see.
So the phone and her watch and the couch, was that morning before you left to go to service? Okay.
That's, I think, Nicole's son found it or something.
Yeah.
What other things did you do that maybe we even missed?
Dropped the phone and the watch. You know, I think I threw the therapy book she wanted me to read in the trash. I don't know.
That was that morning?
I think so.
Were you trying to make it look like she threw it in the trash?
I don't know. I just like,
Oh.
I just didn't think nothing was ever going to work again. So I didn't know what was going on.
Did you go down to the basement? I thought the basement door opened.
Yeah, the door is open, but yeah. So there was a lot of movement, you know, I think it was around 4:26 or something. And the garage door opening, the basement door opening, and then of course the living room sensors and all. Do you remember what you were doing all during that time? Other than
You had a
going
lot of
in and out the
steps.
garage.
I'll just say that.
Okay. So like the basement, I'm not sure. I mean, the only thing I really have down there is my workout, the bench press and whatnot.
Do you remember going down there for anything or opening that door for anything? Did you think about, well, maybe I'll take her out that way, or is it a walkout basement?
No.
It wasn't at your house. Okay.
No, it's like a garden level basement. So
Okay.
But no, I don't remember really. What's that? I don't think I worked out that morning.
Like, were you packing your lunch in the kitchen? Like, did you
Oh,
have to
yeah.
do all that normal
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I packed lunch and everything.
One of the more kind of poignant or tender moments in all of this was seeing you with your dad when he came in. What was it like when you picked him up at the airport?
It was very strange. It was kind of like I almost knew this was probably the last time I'd ever see him on the outside. In my head, I knew that.
Yeah. What'd you guys talk about?
Honestly, like he just wanted to talk about sports. He just wanted, he just like, you know, he's always kind of like, you know, distance himself from like a problem type thing. Like, you know, when, like if there was ever an issue or anything like that, he always wanted to talk about, like, just bring up, like when I would try to get him to quit smoking, like all the time. Like, that's after like I graduated high school and whatnot, he would.
Are you talking about cigarettes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he would always like just change stuff. He'd be like, oh, you know what happened in the race? Football, just something. I mean, he just never wanted, like, you know, he said, okay, oh, yeah, I'll get to it, and he just boom, something else. And you know, I just kind of felt like it was kind of like that, you know, like he asked like a few questions, like, you know, do you know where they're at, and do you think you know where they're at or anything like that? And I just, you know, told him no.
Is it possible he saw that you were in a stressful situation and wanted to do what he always did, make
Yeah.
things comfortable?
I think that was a good way to put it.
I bet you picked up a lot of that from him.
Yeah, because I mean, stressful situations, like I mean, the gray hair didn't show it, but like I try not to be in stress. But you know, it's like, you know, I worked on cars. There's a lot of stress because it's always, you know, it's on commission. You know, you get paid what you do, not by showing up. So that's how it worked.
So do you think your dad had any inkling? Because I'm trying to remember the timing. He showed up when you were still walking around. You weren't in any trouble yet when Ronnie came in.
Yeah, I had met with dude the night before
Mhm.
for like 3 or 4 hours, and then I was at Nick and Amanda's house.
Okay.
Right there, and that's when I went to go pick him up.
Okay. And you picked him up. It was early that morning, right?
He was like 10:30, I think, when his flight came in.
Okay. And then so from there, you guys probably drove home and then to the police station.
Yep.
And the talks there were no type of confession from you. Okay.
No, it was like he was just gonna wait. I
Okay.
told him, like, you know, if you're hungry, there's like that barbecue joint down the street,
Yeah.
and like, you know, it's good. And just, you know, he told me he never left.
He didn't. I wasn't lying.
Yeah.
He was faithful. He was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how he lasted that long without food.
We ended up giving him food.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was great. And the reason I ask is because when I look back and watch the video, now knowing what I know after talking to you today, I can see how genuine he was. But I just didn't know if you.
What were you thinking about during your media interviews?
I didn't want to do it.
Why did you do it? Did you feel like you had to do it?
I felt like, you know, they would have just kept knocking on my door until I answered it. And like, I didn't even set it up, but you know, Nicole Atkinson set it up. She told me, hey, Fox
Is
is
she
gonna,
the one who set it up?
she said Fox is gonna be at your house at 10:30. I'm like, what? Like, okay. And you know, I think I even called you about it. Like, what do you recommend that I do? And he's like, it's kind of up to you. I'm like, okay. And I called one of her friends, you know, what should I do? And she said I probably wouldn't do it, but I just felt like, you know, I don't even want to know what I said, what I looked like on there, because I knew it. Some people said it just made it look even worse after the fact, but
It didn't look good. I mean, obviously we can't say, oh, we knew right then he was lying, but I think we all watched it together and went, this might be bad.
yeah, I mean,
I had that feeling after I watched it. So I could kind of see it in your face. Did you talk to Nikki afterwards? After all this happened?
on the 13th and the 14th.
What was that conversation like?
It was the 13th. It was kind of like, you know, it was more text and then maybe a phone call, like a phone call, and then she thought maybe Shanann like took off with the kids, like just, you know, because I was telling her I didn't know where they were and all that. And then the 14th, she kind of like, I think she kind of thought something may have happened because they hadn't come back.
Why do you say that she might have thought that?
Her, she kept asking me like some weird questions. Like she kept asking like questions that only I would know, but she was testing to see if like it was actually me on the phone. Like
What do you mean?
Like she would ask like, like what's my dog's name, or like what do I like, what yoga studio do I go to, or something like that. And just like, like I just answer like and then like another thing about I'm not sure if this is you. I'm just like, okay.
Is this through text or is this through calls?
Text.
Oh, okay. So she wasn't hearing your voice. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it possible she thought you'd been arrested and we were on the phone?
One, either Shanann had my phone or somebody else had my phone, or
Right.
like maybe maybe she thought it was.
Well, hopefully Shanann would know all the answers to those questions, right?
No. This is Nikki asking me.
Yeah, but
Okay.
if she's asking you your name of your dog and what yoga studio and
Yeah.
like wouldn't
Well,
Shanann know that?
maybe she thought, maybe I was with Shanann. That she was just trying to find out who she was.
Mhm.
But yeah,
I
like
could see
some of the conversation, like on the 14th, got a little weird. I think that's when she met with CBI or something, or FBI. I'm not sure who she met with first.
So she talked to you after she met with?
No.
Oh, she
That
did.
was like she had told me like, this is the last time you'll probably hear from me. I'm going to stay at my friend Jim's place. All this is all going on.
When your dad came in, one of the first things you guys talked about, he said, kind of quietly, I cheated on her, I cheated on Shanann or something. Your dad didn't know until that time?
No, they had, when I was in North Carolina on August 6th, when I spent most of the day with my parents and my sister and everybody, they had, I had told them like something like, this, I don't think this is going to work. Like, with what happened with the nuts and everything, and they're not being able to see the kids, they're like, this is the first time they had talked to me, and pretty much.
Oh, because you went 3 weeks or something, right?
Yeah, because Shanann told me to call him while I was at the beach just to smooth everything out, because she was like, all right, whatever's going on in your head, you need to fix this. But she didn't want she didn't want the kids to see him. She didn't want to see him. And then like when I did see him on August 6th, it was after I went and saw my grandmother. She's in a nursing home. And she still wouldn't go see my parents or anybody with the kids. So I just told her to leave me there, and my dad would come pick me up, and spent the whole day there. And I just they were they said they want to see the kids. They just don't know if they could ever just forgive Shanann for everything that happened that day. I guess I'm not sure like everything that was said that day when they had that argument, but apparently it was like a knockdown, drag out, like bomb that went off in there.
Pretty hurtful things.
Yeah, I'm guessing so. And they just don't know like if they could ever forgive her or not. And I just like I never told them about like cheating on her. Like they even asked me, is there somebody else?
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
So they could kind of sense maybe something was going on.
Yeah, because Nikki was texting me the entire time I was over there.
Oh.
So like, they could kind of see like I was texting somebody.
There are quite a few people who would tell us and who do tell us, you need to look into Nikki more, Nikki Kissinger. All the way from the extreme end of things being Nikki's the one who ordered the hit.
She was there, hiding in the basement.
She was there.
Yeah.
So the extreme is she's the one who told Chris to do it. She's the real problem. All the way, that's the extreme side, and then all the way to, well, there were these texts where she was infatuated, she was in love, she was saying how good Chris was in the sack, and maybe we should look at her more. What would you say to those people?
Like, she had her moments where I had to talk her like off a ledge kind of deal.
What does that mean?
It's like, I guess after the fact, there was like videos of her that she was like recording herself because she was like bipolar or something. I never do that. But it's like, and she would get worked up about nothing. She would just like, she came to my house once because I think it was like July 4th. I didn't have to work that day, so I didn't like get up at like 4 o'clock and go home. And Shanann called me like 10 times in a row, and I didn't hear it because I was sleeping. And I was just like, and she was pissed. Shanann was pissed. And like I called her on outside, like, where are you at? Like, what? Like, I was like, I didn't have to work today. It's like, you called me at like 5:30. It's like, well, kids want to talk to you at 7:30. I'm like I was sleeping. She was like, she just like, screw you, like, like I don't know where you're at. And on the phone. And I went back inside. Told me like, I gotta go. And she was just like, okay, are you coming back? I'm like, probably not.
So wait a minute, you kind of lost me there. Were you at Nikkie's place when
Yeah.
Shanann called you?
Yeah.
Okay, and so you were sleeping in her bed.
Yeah, because I wasn't going to work that day because
I
I
gotcha.
didn't have to that day.
Okay.
The first holiday I ever had off, and like that where she would she would go. She said she would go on like websites and look at like, will a relationship work with somebody? Like, will a mistress work? Will a mistress turn into a relationship?
That's what Nikkie was looking at?
Yeah.
She would tell you that, or you
She
heard
told
that?
me that.
Okay.
Yeah, she said that she would go on websites and look at stuff like that. I was like, why do you even look at stuff like that? She's like, I just want to see what other people have experienced.
But like, so that confuses me though, because I thought earlier you were saying she thought you were heading toward a divorce. So why was she looking at herself as a mistress?
This was later on.
Oh.
Like,
okay.
in August, like
Okay.
the first week of August, when I told her, like, I had to have that talk with her about separation,
Uh-huh.
that's when, like, she started looking at, like, apartments and stuff. But, like, during our July relationship type thing there,
Oh, I see.
that's when she was looking up, like, will it actually work? And she told her friend Brittany about it, I guess, and Brittany told her not to do it, but she said she'd already made her decision.
Okay. And so, are those people absolutely wrong about Nikkie? She wasn't asking you to get rid of your family?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay. And no part of any of this was because she put it in your head or asked you to, or?
No, she never. I mean, this whole relationship contributed to it.
Sure.
But she didn't
Okay.
want me to.
I mean, was it ever like, I wish you didn't have kids, I want to have, kids of my own with you, like,
She never knew if she wanted to have kids, but she said that, at one point she said, I'd like to give you a son.
Okay.
Can we go back to the house on the 13th? So, at one point, right when you got back there, and Coonrod was there, Officer Coonrod and Nicole was there, and then you went in the house and you were for about a minute or so before you let everybody in. Remember what you were doing in there at that time?
I went into the garage,
Right.
and then I ran around and I opened the front door.
Yeah.
Opened the front door did everybody come in through the garage or the front door?
Everybody comes to the front door.
Yeah, so I came in, I went in through there, I came in and opened the front door, and I ran upstairs. I just was like, acting like I was looking around.
Okay. That's after everybody? Did you go around the house at all before you opened the front door? No.
I didn't run around the house. I stayed down on the bottom,
Okay.
bottom floor, and then
Yeah.
went and opened the door.
Yeah. Okay. Just curious.
And I ran upstairs and everybody else, and that's when Nicole's son was on the phone, and I was acting like I was walking through the house.
Yeah.
Shanann had her bra on. Was that normal that she would sleep in her bra?
Every once in a while. I mean, she just got home from the plane. She didn't even take off her makeup or anything. Maybe she was just that tired. But normally, I don't really know.
Did it not come off when you guys had sex?
I
No?
don't think so.
Did you have to see any of that stuff? Pictures or anything? No?
I asked not to.
Okay.
They said I could. I was like, no, I don't want. I've prayed for those hazmat workers that I'm sure it was hazmat, right? That had the
You were part of it.
yeah, and like
We were all there.
We were all there.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I never wanted to see it. I just prayed for that. I'd rather have to be there. I don't never wanted to know what the aftermath was. And they said, like, if this ever got like a preliminary hearing, that I would have to see him just to be prepared and not have a reaction, an initial reaction. But I was like, I don't want to see him.
Do you feel like your lawyers were fair to you? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they were my only human contact, really.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like, almost like a guidance counselor, almost.
Yeah. Did you feel like you were driving the bus though? With your decisions you made?
Yeah, I
or
mean,
no?
I was like, there was a lot of things I didn't really know what was going on behind the scenes. Like,
Sure.
maybe there was a lot of things they never told me. Did they have to ever see the pictures?
Say that again?
Did they have to ever see the pictures? Frank and Sandy and all that?
No. No, they never sent out.
They saw some things.
They didn't see anything of that.
Okay.
Yeah, we shielded that from them.
That's one thing. I just didn't want them to have to see anything or hear anybody talk about anything or any part of it. Or like, you know, anybody bash their daughter, you know, like anybody to ruin, like, you know, to hear what, you know, some of my friends had a negative, you know, impact on her from her, or like had a description of her that didn't match, you know, something like that. I didn't want them to hear that either. But like, I didn't want them, like, you know, anybody have to trash her memory. Like I wanted like them to know like she's, you know, she's loving life, she's beautiful, she always helped everybody else, all her friends, her Lucas friends, everybody. I just wanted, I didn't want anybody to take away from what she did.
We tried to get you to say that night. I know. But do you remember that?
I remember. I was just like,
I know you obviously weren't ready to say that then.
I know. It's like, you know, like after my dad left, we both came in like, all right, we got most of the story. Let's get to the true story. I'm just like, I just wanted to bang my head against the table.
Would you ever want them to know what you're telling us today?
I'd rather just tell them myself.
Yeah.
So they're coming. I think they're gonna try to make a visit in like May or so.
So they don't. Do they still think that Shanann killed the girls?
They still believe that, even though I told them I pled guilty for a reason. But they think that I was their words like railroaded by the legal team.
Yeah.
Because they, you know, they felt like they pressured me to do it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that?
No.
No.
No, they asked me plenty of times. This is like, you know, they wanted to fight. Like if I said fight, they would have just, you know, gone and,
on their gloves.
Yeah, just went in there and did it. You know, yeah, it's like, no, I can't have you do that.
So Chris, you care about others deeply. I can tell. You worry about others. And I've asked you, you know, a bunch of times today, but you're not just telling us that you did it because you feel bad for Shanann's memory. You did it? Okay.
I have to say, like, you know, after this was all over, you know, people would bring up, like, oh my gosh, I bet you're going to find out that Chris, you know, used to torture animals and, you know, all this stuff. You can imagine, like, you know, hearing that someone's capable of that, what have they done in their past, those kinds of things. Can you think back to your past at all, like your childhood, and think about any other moments that maybe you felt this same rage? I mean, obviously you didn't do anything like that, but maybe felt that rage, and like what would have triggered that, or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, I was always like somebody that tried to coax people down, not to, like, if somebody wanted to fight somebody else. I think I got in a fight like when I was in 3rd grade, but it was like, you know, we ripped each other's shirt, went away crying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, why did I do that? And like maybe that was like my only like bad thing I did in school.
I know you talked about your dad having an addiction when I was talking to you.
That was after I left, like left home.
Was it cocaine or something, or
It was some type of powder. I'm not sure. I guess
Okay.
it was cocaine. I guess that's,
how do you think that affected you?
I don't think it affected me. Well, it did affect me, but it didn't like take like deep down. It didn't like really hurt as much as I thought it would. It was kind of weird because when I think it was my mom and my sister told me, like when they talked to him about it, it didn't seem to register. Like I said, like he would just change subject, and like when I talked to him about it, he immediately changed subject. I was like, because they found like, you know, cuts on his like CDs and stuff where he would like, you know, like separate it and stuff like that. Because he at a car dealership, I mean, you find guys that do that kind of stuff all the time, I guess. But he was just coping with like, I never came back home, and because before I met Shanann, and it was just.
Did you feel guilty that he's now using drugs because you never came back home, like he lost his kid?
You know, I never really knew why he was doing it. After the fact, I knew it was because he was coping with that, but I never knew why he really actually turned to drugs. My mom thought he was having an affair because like, all this money was going somewhere else just for the drugs. But like myself, I never used drugs, so I always try to tell him like, hey, like what's going on? Like why do you need to use this? And just like you could be using this for a whole lot better things. You know, just don't throw your life away. I mean, like, because you could see in his face, like, you know, it's like eyes, or like everything was getting like, you know, like the drugs through your face, and like your skin was getting all loose, and like he was losing a lot of weight. His nose was bleeding all the time, and all kinds of stuff like that. And I was just telling him, like, hey, you know, you smoked like every day of your life since you were like 15 or 16. You're like, you know, I can't get you to stop that, but I can get you to stop this.
Right.
And he put it away, I guess, pretty quick after I talked to him about it.
I wondered if they hadn't visited because they weren't ready to visit, or if it was a money thing, or, you know, like
Visit here
getting the
or-
time off.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you. Like,
Visit here?
Yeah, visit here.
Well, I just told him, like, well, they can't drive in the snow, so it's kind of like, you know, I don't want... It's
These
just-
roads are bad.
Yeah, it's, I think it's like an hour from either Madison Airport, whichever
Yep.
way it is. I told him, like, wait till springtime.
Good advice.
Yeah.
It's pretty brutal.
It was yesterday.
Do they have money to get here?
They sold my toolbox to get some money to come out here.
Okay.
So, yeah, so they'll come out here, and like, they said April, but I was like, no, just maybe push it till June. They said they can sometimes have a blizzard out here in April
Yeah,
sometimes too. Like,
the late spring blizzard, yeah.
so lake effect stuff is crazy.
Yeah.
And are you in Gen Pop right now?
No, I'm in a unit. There's like 11 or 12 of us on there. There was like 22 when I first got there, but they've been transferred to the other prisons around Wisconsin.
And what are the other guys like?
They're like, they're fine. Like the first time, like I sat out and ate like a breakfast or lunch with them, I was scared.
Are you nervous, scared?
Yeah, I was just like, this hasn't happened. Like, you know, since, you know, this never happened.
Yeah.
Like I said, they locked the hallways down when I got moved to Colorado.
Yeah, well, I've heard that. Yeah.
So it was like, you know, being next, like right like this, eating next to somebody, I was just like, is he gonna like take a spork and try to stab me or something, or what? But it's totally different here. I mean, people know who I am, but like they don't like, you know, run at me or jump at me or like. Apparently the guys that work here, they know that I guess other maxes are like you lock down like 23, 22 hours a day.
Oh, so then this isn't all right place to be?
For like
By
other
comparison?
max guys.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, they said it's the best max but the worst medium.
Oh,
What kind of stuff, like food and stuff, do you miss the most from the outside?
Food.
Yeah.
Well, I know from, you know, my last time in North Carolina, Bojangles, that was really good. I don't know if you guys ever go to North Carolina or no?
is that barbecue?
It's chicken and biscuits.
Mm.
And that barbecue place down the street from PD.
Mm-hmm.
Forget what.
Smokehouse,
Yeah.
Georgia Boys.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one. Yeah, the burn ends. I miss that. And just you know, I miss Shanann's cooking. That's for sure. Like her spaghetti sauce and her fried pizza.
Yeah.
Fried pizza?
I don't think I've heard of that. What is
I've
that?
never heard of that.
So her mom has, or I think it was her mom, her grandmother on her mom's side had this like this dough, homemade dough you can make, and just make up the dough, and she would make it up with Bella and Celeste sometimes, with like a little smaller one, but she would make the really big one, and then she would put it in the oven, the bottom oven, and let it sit there for a couple hours, not put it on or anything, just let it rise.
Mm-hmm.
And then once it's done, take it out, form it, throw the spaghetti sauce she has, and spread it around, and throw the mozzarella and pepperoni and put it on the oven 350. And
But what part of it is fried though?
well, they have some parts that you can put on the grill. You can put
Oh.
on the
Okay.
stove too.
Okay.
It's really good. I mean, it's really thick.
Yeah.
So you got
Apparently we need this from
Yeah.
Sandy.
I will work on that.
Yes. Write a note.
yeah,
Are you able to stay out of trouble here?
yeah.
Nobody's getting in any fights? You're not getting written up for anything? You're not getting... Okay.
I try to keep a low profile here. So
Have you thought about like writing a book or anything like that?
no, that's nothing like that.
What
My mom and dad have been sorry. What was it?
No, go ahead.
My mom and dad are saying maybe you should like write down like how you feel or like how you've been dealing with this type thing. Just write it down, and that would be my story. But I'm just like, I'm not writing a book. That's not me. I mean, I've always had a really crazy imagination. As well, like when I was a kid, like I even convinced my teacher I went to Japan over the summer or to China or something. But she said, like, you should just write down, like, your story, like, how you've coped with this.
Why did you convince your teacher you had gone to another country?
It was just like what you did over the summer, and I was like, oh, well, it's China. I started writing. And she actually believed it. I was really convincing.
Well, you're a smart dude.
Yeah.
It was, and they, like, parent-teacher conference said, so how was China? What? Okay.
There might be a couple more things we want to go over. Is
Okay.
that something you're up for?
That's fine.
Okay. And then the other thing is, we might be back in a month and a year and 2 years, if you're up for it.
Okay.
Now that's way down the road, but I guess maybe in the back of your mind, just think about that. And, I hope so far today's been all right for you.
Yeah, it's been, honestly, when I walked in, I was just like, wait, I know these
Where do I
people.
know these guys?
I looked at you, I'm like that's not the site counselor, that's, oh my gosh, okay.
Yeah.
They're Colorado people.
But then to pass that A&E sergeant, I was like, all right, who am I meeting?